All right. Looks like we are ready to start, assuming I don't keep opening this. Goodness, okay. But yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another stream. Yesterday I was a little busy, so I didn't get a chance to work on stuff, but today we're just going to continue where we left off. Tried to get a little more done today. So yeah, I'm excited. We're doing more gameplay related stuff, which is really fun. During my time off, I tried to get working some things related to code coverage, because I was curious, right? Just like, how is the code coverage of my project? Unfortunately, I still can't quite get to work. I don't know exactly why, but it's kind of complicated to set up, and maybe I just messed up the way I set things up. So unfortunately, we might not see that for a little while, but I hope eventually to have something related to code coverage, just to see like the code coverage in my project. And maybe I might resort to like some kind of Linux tool or something. That might be the way to go. We'll have to see. Anyway, we're working on more gameplay related stuff today, so I'm going to go ahead and clean up my tabs a little bit because I've got so many. Kind of start like in a reset here. So what are we working on? In Chapter 4 Monsters, we have all the mages following a specific behavior rule set. And it says here that the mage tries to move to an area that is 700 to 900 range away from the player. So that's easy enough. If the mage is far away, try to move closer to the player. And if the mage is close to the player, try to move away from the player. Now, during casting, they don't cancel their casts. So, ability casts have a higher priority than movement. So we have to make sure that if we're casting, we do not move the monster. So we're going to go into the skeleton mage, skeleton fire mage.cpp. Now, this actually has been renamed to the Skeleton Mage strategy, so the file name is not quite right. So I might actually go through here real quick, and let's just rename it from the file from skeletonfiremage.cpp to skeletonmage.cpp. That is the name of the monster strategy. So let's start by seeing if the monster is casting. So we're going to have access to M, and M contains a reference to the monster itself. And then in here, it's going to say if cast is casting. It might just be like a flag. Oh, if current cast. So current cast is an optional. So if there is something inside of current cast, it means that the monster is currently casting. It effectively means the same thing. So we're seeing if it's not casting anything before we decide to do something. First, we're going to measure the distance from the monster to the player. So we're looking for distance to player, which is as simple as doing m dot get distance from. Why is this so small? Can I expand this? Show more results. No. So I'm trying out the insider build of Visual Studio. I kind of just did it on a whim because code coverage became a feature that was available not just to the enterprise versions of Visual Studio, but it didn't quite work. So now I'm just like, well, here I am. This list doesn't show or is not as large as I would like. Like, look at this. Like, why is it so tiny right here? It shouldn't be. It's like the size of the list is as if like the font size is smaller. You know what I mean? Like, imagine these were all a smaller font size. It's like this is scaling based on that. There's 4 items in this list. Clearly, they do not fit here. My IDE currently has most of the fonts set to a higher font than normal, so that must be what it is. Like, it looks like the size of this box depends on how many items in it, up to a maximum, and because there's so many items here, it kind of shows a lot more, but then we get to a smaller one. Oh, look, it actually works now. Maybe it's just like catching up or something, like the list isn't completely filled right now, and IntelliSense is catching up or something. That's just my theory anyway. So we're going to get the player here. We're going to need the game pointer. So to get the game pointer, we're going to need to include two files. Or no, excuse me. We need to do two things. We need to do include adventures in Listoria.h, and then we're going to have to do a macro called include _ game, which is going to give us access to our game pointer. And then we can say get player, and from get player, we get its pointer, and we can say get pause of the player. So with that, we have the distance to the player. Next, we have to figure out our ranges and what to do based on those ranges. So there's going to be a runaway distance and a move towards distance, and then an in-between range, right? So const float runaway distance, and then we have the move towards distance, which is a little different. Like so. And so to get the runaway distance, we're going to need to retrieve it from the monster strategies file. Monster strategies contains default variables for different monster strategies. Okay, thank you. At least I can extend the size of this box, and that's nice. I would like it to be vertical though. Oh, that's not what I want, but okay. Let's try that again. It's like a pop-out right now. Switch to a pop-up window. I would prefer that. I like these better instead of a docking window. And then, can we change the layout? I would like to change the... Oh, maybe right here. Nope, that's for the scope. It's like they removed it. That's kind of dumb, isn't it? Okay. Well, I guess I'm learning about the positives and negatives of the insider version of Visual Studio today. So it's a learning experience. We're gonna see how it does, and if we don't like it, we can always go back to 2022. It just gets us installed side by side. So it's not like I lost the ability to use 2022, other than reverting to a previous lower version toolchain, which is easy enough. That's just a setting flip. Anyway, we're going to monster strategy. First of all, we're looking for files. Monster strategies .txt, because inside of here it contains all the variables, the default variables for every monster strategy. So we didn't add variables regarding the movement of a skeleton mage yet, so we're going to do that now. So first we have the runaway distance. We could also just specify as a range, like stay distance range from player, right? We could name it that, and then I can just specify two values here, and then we'll just read those two in and go from there. Maybe we'll make a comment that says min comma max distance to keep away from player. Okay, so back over here, we're going to read those variables in. So this would be a config float, and it's going to be called the distance range from player. And it's going to be the first element. So when we have multiple elements, we call the array version. So this is a config float array. We're going to specify the 0th index. And then for the move towards distance, that means we're too far away from the player. So distance range from player, get the first index of that array, and that will read it in from the configuration file. So now we can do our comparisons. So if distance to player is less than or equal to, let's just say less than, move towards distance. Or, excuse me, if distance to player is greater than move towards distance, then that means we are too far away. So we're going to be forced to move towards the player. So let's do that first. And we're going to simply execute a different state. So we're going to call the run state or run strategy function that we made a while back. We kind of changed how we would do that. So then we specify an enum for which strategy we're running. So we're going to do run towards, and the run towards strategy requires a it's a local function, not a static function. And the run towards function requires a target. So we're going to do set target. Or maybe it's just I do target. Yeah. I guess I don't say set target, it's just literally called target. And then I would set the target position to be the player's position. That is the position we're going to aim the monster to move towards. So it's going to be get pause. And then that's all we would have to do. Once the monster is in range of the player, it shouldn't have to move anymore. And then we'll have another statement. So the next condition we're interested in is what do we do if the monster is too close to the player? So if distance to player is less than the runaway distance, then it means we need to run away. We're way too close. So again, we set the target, and then we're going to call run away. And that literally will just be a strategy that runs away from the player instead. Finally, the only other case to do is cast. So actually casting happens passively because that's coded as a whole different system. So as long as we're not casting, we can move towards the player or run away from the player. That's just the general movement behavior of this AI. So that's the first step. So we can go ahead and compile and just take a look at that behavior, make sure it feels okay, make sure the distances are what we want. Oh, speaking of the distances, in our game, every 100 units is 24 pixels or 1 tile. So realistically, we're not getting these directly, we're actually getting these distances, dividing it by 100 and multiplying it by 24. And if we do that, then we're going to end up with an actual game tile distance, which is the distance we're referring to instead. So yeah, that's what we're interested in. My Visual Studio has decided to pause for a minute, so hopefully it comes back. That would be great. I'm assuming it's just building in the background, but yeah, hopefully that comes back. But it's probably just taking its time to build, right? That's always fun, of course. God. If not, I'll have to restart Visual Studio. I hope that is not the case. Please? Come on, game. Like, I don't know. So this could also be like a Visual Studio Insider thing. Like maybe it just causes issues while trying to do this building like this. Am I just gonna call it quits and restart it? I'll give it like, okay. Actually, it crashed by itself and restarted, which is even more concerning. That's not what we want, right? I'm gonna try it one more time and pray it doesn't crash. That's so weird, but if we're just gonna have, okay, cannot open include file CPP unit test? Oh, okay, so basically I added something for logging during game testing or during unit testing, but I think, well, clearly this file doesn't exist in here. It can only exist when we are like actually unit testing. So I need to kind of fix that. Let me think about this for a second. Where does this actually come from? Right? That's what I have to figure out. Because we include that in our unit tests and it obviously builds fine. So we must have added something that gives us access to that, right? Because it clearly exists in there. It's non-external dependencies, so that's telling me it is just something else. Let me take a quick look at how we do the build settings for unit testing, because it probably will give us a hint, right? Let's see, because I know when we set it up a long time ago, we said something like, create a unit testing project. I think that's what we did. So what does that actually do in terms of the project structure? Because there must be a project setting to make this happen. So we gotta figure that part out. And if we can't find it in here, a good place to actually look is the solution file. You just open it raw in a text editor, and we can kind of probe it to see if we can find something referencing like unit tests. I think that would be our best bet. So I'm just gonna open our project solution file in Visual Studio Code. Blend for Visual Studio. What is blend? Like, what is this? Microsoft Blend. Am I supposed to know what this is? This is... I feel like this got installed when I installed... Sign into Blend for Visual Studio. What is Blend? I mean, it looks like it's an IDE, but what is this? And why is this on my computer now? Just more stuff we don't need. Anyway, while it's doing that, let's look for a CPP unit test. So nothing in there about that. Okay, let's just try anything related to like testing, because we do have a project called unit testing, but like maybe there's some reference to like testing or something. I think that's it. I was hoping for more, you know? It looks like we just have directories, that's fine. Oh, I should probably look at this, the VCX project file itself. That would actually be more helpful. So let's go in tests and go under the VCX project file and open that in Visual Studio Code. And we'll see what happens. So in here, let's just look for like testing first again. So property group condition equals unit testing, that's fine. Unit testing, testing. Unit testing pre-build, I think that just moves files to it. Hi, I stumbled across your channel and want to tell you to keep up the great work. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear. CPP unit test at all? Nothing? It does say project subtype is a native unit test project. That must be what's doing it. Property group label globals. So whatever's setting this is making this happen. I wonder if that's what's creating it. Oh. Import project, VC targets path, Microsoft CPP default.props. Maybe that's what's doing it. But what does that mean? What do we do with that information? Like, clearly when I selected like a unit test project, it got configured in some way where it added some like stuff that included that file or testing stuff. That might be something we have to address later, but basically the idea was if something was defined, like I just did a if def. Originally I was just like, okay, if this is Windows, but clearly this doesn't exist unless you're using an actual testing framework project. So, I mean, we could just look. We can straight up look, because it's not like this is hidden or anything. You can just see where this is coming from. This is inside of unit test / include. So technically we can make this an include, like inside our project directory. We can literally just say, I guess like Visual Studio directory or something, and maybe that will be all we have to do to satisfy that requirement. Let's try that. Because that's where it's located, so it's like, if I add it as an include directory, we should technically be able to include that header. So I can see here we have a couple things related to that right now. And it looks like this is what we're interested in, kind of like very, very close, right? We're just interested in unit test instead of auxiliary vs unit test. So if we include this folder, we'll have access to that too. So that's a VC include path. Let's see if we can find one for like unit test path or something. Okay, let's just look for unit test. Maybe something will be holding that value. Okay, nothing's holding that value. So instead of the include path, I guess we can look for... Look for something that is just outside of there. So like... I'm just gonna type auxiliary and see if something has that value that we can use. Okay, so this is looking promising. We have the VC vs include path. VC auxiliary vs / include. You know, I could just back out a directory too. That would work as well. So maybe let's add VC include path and then just include the ... and go into unit test, right? That would work in theory. I don't know what just happened there, but that was supposed to evaluate. It literally just shows ... Wait, I'm confused. That should have worked, right? Let me just do okay. Maybe it's broken. I feel like it's supposed to show it. Inherited values, VC include path, Windows SDK include path. Hello? Let me try... I feel like that should work, but maybe if I click this over here it will work. Include paths. Oops. Also, this is only for active. I would make it available for debug as well. Hi there, Crotone. Welcome. Let me see. So that doesn't... At least it's not showing anything here. I was expecting it to show up. Like the full paths, but it's just showing ... Maybe I have to... Okay. Let me just type that out real quick, because that would... This should resolve, and obviously it already exists, so... Okay, it doesn't include a second time, which is fine. Let me type like A. Why does it just say A? I'm so confused. Alright, well, in theory, right, it should be / ... unit test. I'm just gonna go off of what it should be, right? I mean, IntelliSense isn't complaining. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Maybe? Maybe I did it on the wrong thing. Let me see. So VC include path did not have a leading backslash in it, so that should be fine. I could put under source directories. I don't think that's what I'm supposed to do here. Oh, additional include directories. Maybe it goes there. I'm gonna try that. Additional include directories. I'll just put it in there and maybe it'll pop up in here. No, it still does the same thing, which is funny. Yeah, it doesn't want to pop up. Okay, well, let's make sure that it, like, is okay with this to even begin with. Like, if I just take those files and I move them to that folder, in theory that should work. So, like... I can go in here, and I'm just gonna copy all these into the include folder, right? Like, in theory, that would work. You're now included in the includes in general, so that should work. We'll have to see. I don't know if he'll be still complain. But basically what I wanted to do was make it... Well, what these does is when I run the unit tests, it actually outputs what each unit test's output from, like, my logging and error message system is supposed to be. So if we were to go here, and we went into, like, buff tests, right? We just went to any of these, and we ran it, then every message from running it will appear in that unit test's log, which is a lot nicer. It's just something I kind of forgot about, but I wanted to implement. I was trying to think about how to if-def it, because I was thinking, okay, maybe what I would do is look inside here and pick some kind of define here that it specifies, so that when it includes error.h, we can just look for that. But cannot open source file cpp unit test.h. Cannot open... Okay, so that's for libraries, so that clearly wasn't the right thing to do. And it still says it cannot find the header, so I'm either putting all this in the wrong place or it just can't find it, which is concerning. Wait, I did delete it. Maybe I deleted it after I did the copy paste. So let me try that one more time. Just vc include path slash... Well, now it would be in the include path, the default include path. So yeah, that would technically be correct. Actually, looking at the build output, I don't think it complained about not finding it. Like, this is actually fine now. It just needs the library file. So where's the library file? I guess that's the next question, because it needs to link it. Because these are just the headers, we don't have the source code. Lib? I hope it's in lib. No? Okay, well... how am I gonna find where the library is? This one? This has to be it. cpp unit test framework.lib. Okay, yeah. Oops, that's not what I want. So since we have a, I guess this is a static library, yeah, static library. we need to go in here and add it to our additional dependencies, which I guess I could just hard code it, or I can move this because we're not like regenerating this or anything. My only issue with doing this right now is that I'm gonna have to set this up again if I go to another system. So I would rather not have to do that, or just I have to remember to do this. It's like it goes both ways, right? I would ideally like to set it up so it references it from this folder. So maybe let's try to get the directories right. Are you working on this just as a passion project? Pretty much, yeah. Like, I will release it as a Steam game. There is a Steam page for it with the demo, but it's not something that has like a hard deadline, and it's not like my job. I don't depend on what I do with this to make money. So yeah, this is purely for fun, and we get to do all sorts of silly stuff with it. It's been a good time. Yeah, so I would like to actually get here legit, and on top of... Oh, maybe this is why I was having problems. There's an include folder inside there, and I just said unit test. Okay, so I messed up the directory. Okay, that makes way more sense. So in here, I'm going to do, again, vc include path, and then I'll do a ... and then I'll go unit test, and then / include. So that must be the part I forgot, which is why it wasn't working. And then in linker input, we're gonna look for that library, but we'll have to type pretty much the exact same path. / unit test / so it's under lib / x64 / lib / x64 / and then the full library name, which is this giant thing. Like that. And that should be good. Again, I'm gonna have to do this for the debug configuration as well if this works out. So let me try building this now that we've kind of found everything. Hopefully it works. Cannot open input file. Include.obj. Oh, wait. What? Why is it... Where did this come from? Okay, this looks... Well, first of all, this is the wrong directory. How did we get here? That definitely doesn't look like a directory we care about or should have anything important in it. Alright, let me see what this resolves to, or try to understand. Because all I did was vc underscore... This must not be what vc underscore include path is. vc underscore include path. Oh, it's multiple values. Wait. Oh, okay, yeah, so that would mess things up. vc underscore include path is closer, but is also not what I was expecting. This is in vc/tool, so what I was looking at was not what I wanted. I wanted an include path that pointed to... I was expecting this. So let's look for, like, auxiliary again. I was expecting something with that include vc underscore... Oh, vs include path. That's the value I want. Okay. Now we're... That is the directory I thought I was in this whole time. And it does not... Also does not have any... Well, it does have a semicolon after it. Oh, that's kind of annoying. Wait, is the semicolon just... Yeah, there are like some values that don't have multiple values, but have a semicolon at the end. So I think that messes with things, and I don't think I can fix... Well, I don't know what happens when there's multiple values here. Like, do I really just have to type them all out manually? I guess I would need a value that had more like the raw pieces of data in it and construct it from that. So maybe I'll just go back to like something that contains, let me just look for the /18 because that's probably like a more base directory that we can start from. Okay. Yeah, see, these are all just like prefixes for like other directories, which is what I'm more interested in. So like right here, the VC installer is probably way more useful. So I'll just start from there because I know that's going to be correct. And then we go into there. So it's starting from insider /VC. So we do /auxiliary /VS auxiliary /VS slash, so in this case we're going to /unit test /lib /x64 /this. So I essentially want to use the same thing but for the other one and do /include instead. See, this looks a lot more appropriate. It also has a leading slash, so I don't need that. Yeah, this is way more... This actually resolved. So if it's multiple value, that's why it didn't resolve. Okay. When it's multiple values, you can't, like, append to it. This actually resolved correctly. So that's a good thing. Okay. So I'm gonna go with that. So is it just me, or is this... I don't see my overlay. 1 second. It's like my... I usually have something I watch Twitch chat from, but it's not actually up right now. Overlay? When you look here, like overlay. I don't know why it doesn't just show all by default. That's really annoying. I forget what it's called now. But apparently it's not here. What happened? Twitch? Oh, right here. Yeah, why isn't this open? It should be open. Okay, now it's open. Should have done this before I started though. Like, I usually have a thing set up to... Oh my god, it's frozen. Alright, whatever. I'm just going to leave it for now. Apparently it's, like, being very weird on me. Okay. Like, it doesn't let me modify this. Why does it let me modify it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Is this the box? So yeah, I can, like, modify this to be not transparent. Basically, I just have a box that shows me where my chat is, but it's transparent, so I can't actually see it. Just kind of counterproductive. It's not 100? It's like, oh, it's between 0 and 1. Like 0.1. Okay. I'll do it for this one too. Okay. Usually I have this set up before streams, so I just noticed it wasn't there, so I'm like, oh, yeah, no wonder. Style. Just do background RGBA 000.1. Did that work? Oh, I need a semicolon. That'd be nice. Yay! Yay for dev tool things. Okay. Back to this. So we're gonna go back to VC++ directories, and in here, we're gonna use that new path. And instead of this, we're going to the other path, we're gonna go to include. So that should be good. So this shouldn't complain because it's included now, and it should be able to link because we specified the correct lib. At least I'm hoping that's the case. So let's see if it links. Can open input file VC auxiliary vs unitest lib x64 blah blah blah. Cannot open. Did I close Windows Explorer? Dang it. So it's a just for comparison's sake. Unitest lib x64. All this. So that didn't work. Am I in the wrong? C program files Microsoft Visual Studio /18/insiders /VC. Yeah, that looks correct. Oh wait. It's not /VS/unit. Wait, VC auxiliary. Oh. Auxiliary that has one L in it. Dang it. So I just typoed that. Oops. For some reason I thought auxiliary had two L's. Okay, well that's important. It has one I didn't even spell it right. Auxiliary. I-L-I-A-R-Y. Okay, let me just triple check with this because, yeah. A-U-X-I-L-I-A-R-Y. Okay. That is what we want. I'm just being done with the spelling. I wish the window would remember what its size it was. That'd be great. It's like the little things that mess with, like, the experience, right? These little things make me want to not use the insider version. Just mentally I'm keeping tabs of like, okay, I like this, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I can decide if I even care to stick with it, right? I was just curious, so that's why I got it today. Alright, let me try that build one more time. Here's to hoping. Okay. Can I open file cpp unit test framework.lib? What is this about? x64, is that just like, did I type something else by accident that I left? Like, why is it looking for that? These are the only things I'm looking for, right? So, why does it say x64 Microsoft.visualstudio.testtools.cpp unit? Auxiliary? Wait. Hold on, is that... Now I'm just confusing myself. Auxiliary... So it's looking for lib x64 this? It was saying it as if like it was a relative directory. I'm not sure what's going on now. Do we have to do this for the unit testing project? Core library dependencies. What's that? That's not in the other one, is it? Core library dependencies. Okay, that doesn't really resolve to much. At least as far as I can tell. Okay, that's just all the standard stuff, yeah. So that's not important. Additional dependencies. Okay. Well, it looks like we don't have the libraries we need to make this work, so... Oh, you know what? I wonder if it's just searching for it in here. X64? I wonder if it just wants it to be in here. Right? That is where it's referring to, as far as I can tell. Interesting. But why would I have to manually copy that over, is the question. Alright. So for now, I think I'm just going to disable this until I either think of an alternate solution or just not bother. Or we make a version of error specifically for unit testing. Like, just make the same thing, but for that. It's kind of counterproductive, but it would be better because CPP unit test is already introduced in the unit testing project. I just don't remember or know why. So I would have to look at that later. But technically, we could just make a new source file and header file in here called error.h and include that. But then again, error already exists, so it would be like a new class. That's not error. Specifically to do that extra stuff. So we'd make like, we're kind of making like a wrapper, essentially. So inside of... Well, I have game helper, but that's not... Does this have a test class? Okay, it has a test namespace. So what I would like to do... Oh, Visual Studio. Oh, Visual Studio. Please. Give me a headache. Random box popped up. So what I would like to do is make a... like a test error function or a test log function, and it gets called, but then this will also be for testing only. Basically, we need to just determine some way to only reference this code or to only have this code when CPP unit test is defined. Which again leads me to think I want to use this, but then it doesn't work. As far as I can tell, it doesn't work. And I don't think it gets undefined, as far as I know. Like, I can just do a quick search for like undef, but I don't think it gets undefined. So if it's technically the first item, then it should be defined after that and usable throughout the project. But that would also mean the macro would have to be found first. So maybe I can make my own macro that does this. Like, just put it at the top of every single one of these just to be safe. Because like the unit tests, we're gonna run these files. So it's like, if I just define it up here as something like unit testing, right? Running or unit test underscore file. If I just do something like this, that should technically work, in theory. And I should be able to then use it in here, right? Oops. And it will only be valid if that's the case. No, I don't think this works, because this is a separate, like, compilation unit. This would have to be inside the header file. Because that's the only thing that gets included here is error.h. So that must be what I'm missing. Because, like, we're not going to include the CPP file. We're not going to include bufftest.cpp in here. So for this, it's never going to be defined. I would have to put in a header that I include over there as well. So I'm trying to think what that would look like. It's like, how do we let it know? So error.h is included in all these, so that's where we would have to check for that and then include that in error.h. So it would essentially be the same thing as doing this. As long as cpp unit test.h is first, this will be defined. So in error.h, which I'll bring up over here, we then look for... Where's it? Where'd it go? Oh. I thought I was still looking at error.cpp. So let's say we did that, and then we're gonna add this line instead in here, and say if defined mscpp unit test framework. Then include these two files. Well, include the using namespace and the include header itself. And then, technically if this runs, these will be defined then, because we include error.h, which, if we're following the header trail, error.h would be included in this file first. So this would have been defined with that by then. So that should work, in theory. Also, I'm going to switch this to if-def, because I'm just more familiar with that. I just like that syntax a little better. For some reason I did if defined, which is inconsistent with what I like to do. So let's see if we can build that. So I'm just going to build one of these unit tests. Well, I have to build the whole project, and then I'm going to run one of the unit tests. And it should still log the output correctly. So the whole point of this was to make it so when we run a unit test, it would show the whole output log local to that specific unit test. Up until this point, I've been technically, like, cheating by... If I wanted to review the logs, essentially I was piping everything to one singular file, and it was just a mess of every output, right? So we would always go to here, be like, okay, if we want to view, like, an error my game spit out, we would be running like all of our tests, and they would all be spitting things out into this file. And in theory, they could be out of order too if two tests were running like in parallel, which I don't think happens because my game has a bunch of globals, so we can't actually run the tests in parallel. But still, they're in a non-determined order, and the test can run in any order, so you wouldn't know which run was being logged by which test unless we logged that too. It was just kind of messy if we had to find something in there, so this sort of fixes that. At least that was the goal. Unfortunately, it broke my main game compile-wise, so I need to find something that has the right pre-processor flags to make sure it only gets included for test projects. So that's my hope. So this should build fine, I hope. Let's go, come on. Big project, finish, finish, finish. Okay, cool. So now, we go to Test Explorer. Hello? I'm gonna... Oh, it still has to build the test project real quick, and then they will appear. So it just built the main project, now it's building the test project, which only takes a moment. It's much smaller in size. And then hopefully CodeLens pops up its stuff. Please. Or we get a bunch of unresolved I have to switch to the unit testing project, which it should be fine. That way it doesn't output. Basically, that just tries to output an executable. It can't really output an executable with no... It doesn't have proper linking because we're just calling a DLL of my game from this project. It's just supposed to produce a lib with all the tests in it for being called by Visual Studio. There's a whole documentation for how it's all supposed to be set up, and if it's not in that very specific way, then it just doesn't work. Which is kind of why I might end up spending a day where we try another unit testing framework just for fun. And if we like it, we might just port these tests into that system. Because I have a feeling, while this system is nice, it doesn't have, because it's built into Visual Studio, of course, it doesn't quite have everything I need. Well, for one, I can't really run this outside of Windows. In theory, we can if we have like a Windows VM or like Azure desktop or something, which is like, do I really want to go through that trouble? So instead, I would like to try a unit testing framework that is more compatible across OSs, because this is kind of locked into Windows. And testing on Windows is fine, just I would like to bring the unit testing into the CI system when it comes to committing. Like, wouldn't it be cool if after committing, not only does it check, it builds the web build, but then it runs the tests for the web build? I think that would be pretty cool. Like, if we can add that as a step, then we know for sure that all of our tests are running. I wouldn't be excuse me, something in my throat. I wouldn't be randomly like pulling up Test Explorer to try them every once in a while and forgetting. Instead, it would be like a lot more automated, and it would make sure that we're not actually submitting a game that has bugs in it to like a PR or something. So at the end of the day, that's like my goal. I want to move over to that if I can, but I can't do that with this MS unit testing framework because I'm kind of locked in. Hi there, Sour. Welcome. Let me try just one of these real quick. I'm just gonna run it. And this has changed. So what we end up getting now is after this test runs, and it should succeed, we're gonna get a log. Or we don't get a log. Okay, so we're supposed to have a log, but we don't. So I lied. But that just means what I wrote didn't work. Which is kind of annoying. Like, why isn't this define working, right? So then I thought of another idea where I'm like, okay, well, if that doesn't work, I can just make it so it's defined in here or something. When it's built, it like just adds it, but I don't think this worked either. And it might be because this is like a standard, or this creates a library, like a static lib. So me adding it to this, I don't think works because it's not trying to like run it from here. This isn't like the run command. Well, that's the linker first of all, but like adding it to here, I don't think, well, that wouldn't make sense, right? Because this is like when it's compiling. It should technically be able to add a flag here if I include it. Like, just for the sake of trying, well, I probably don't want to use MS unit testing framework, but maybe like unit testing or something. Like, I think I tried this earlier and it didn't work. I guess, just to put it lightly, it just didn't work. But then I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to do it inside of this project actually. because this is where I'm selecting unit testing. So here I am. Add it there. Alright, /D, unit testing. So I could try that and see what happens. This looks tough. Oh yeah, this project always brings me a lot of joy working on it, as in it's always a challenge to do anything with. So let me try this real quick. I'm just gonna say unit testing, right? In theory, it picks up on it. Okay, so that's a good thing. Like, it's actually recognized it in IntelliSense. So that tells me I've done something right. I just don't know if it's gonna pick it up when I compile it in here. So now I'm gonna hit compile again. Hopefully it recompiles, because I don't think it's... Yeah, it's probably picked up on that it's got to recompile the whole thing because I changed the compiler flags. So it's gonna do all that again. And then if that works, that pretty much accomplishes what I wanted. While we're waiting for that, what brought up this whole thing? So, the error message logging, I need to go fix the original project I messed up now. So under release desktop, we can go, oh, it's compiling so I can't change anything. Wonderful. Okay. Actually, I might still be able to. If I open another Visual Studio, I think, in theory, I can go change a different project. Like, I don't know how badly it'll mess it up. Actually, I don't think it'll save. See, like editing between two editors, right? Like, that's kind of tricky because will the other one pick up on the differences if I change it in here? But yeah, we can go back to directories. I have to remove that, like, auxiliary folder. I think it will, because what's probably going to happen is I'm going to select it. It's probably going to then read from the file and apply the changes. In my head, that's how it works. I would be surprised if it actually cached what the config settings were. But who knows? Software is very complex, and it can literally do anything. I don't know if this is illegal or not. Okay. So, yeah, just waiting. We're about to find out, basically. So it's doing the linking. Now it's compiling the unit test project, and then now I can make sure it's actually working again. We'll go ahead and commit this. This was more of a side tangent when I wanted to try and test some other code. So either way, we're fixing something I needed to fix since I wrote it wrong. It was clearly not what my intention was, to make it uncompilable. Okay, so now it's about to finish here, so we can go ahead and try running this unit test again. It doesn't really matter which one. The whole point is to just be able to log. Okay, here we go. So it's been modified. I can just hit reload, and that should make sure that my changes actually went through. So I'm going to go ahead and run this unit test now, and we'll actually see it should log to the output, and I should still be able to build on the other side, the actual project. Don't tell me it's to recompile again. Thank you. So you can see here, I actually like this a lot better. We ran the test. It produces this log. So this log is all the output of a game instance running. So every time we run a unit test, it basically runs a game, right? It runs the game. Why does it keep doing that? Stop doing that. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, you can see this is just like all the loading information. If it like errors out or something, now it'll actually appear specifically for any given unit test, and we can just look at that instead. That's a lot better than before, where I had to look at debug.log and do a control F error every time just to find it. So that's a lot nicer. Now we go back to this project, and I make sure I can run that now. Under release. Probably have to rebuild this one too. because I changed the config stuff, removed the old stuff that we shouldn't have in there. Also, I noticed this. There's a Copilot thing and it says modernize. I wonder what that does. What do you all think modernize does? What does it mean to modernize a project? I wonder if I can get rid of... Oh, I should be able to get rid of that. Let's mess with that while this is going on. Tools, I think it's gonna be under customize. Yep. So we're gonna go to the commands menus. I'm probably gonna find this in a couple places if I'm being honest, but let's try and get rid of it. So I'm looking for project and solution context menus, specifically for a project or solution. Here we go. So it's probably under here. There it is, modernize. I'm just gonna delete that. We don't need that. I'm scared of what modernize might mean. Me too. God. I'm just gonna do a quick scan anywhere else for any signs of Copilot. I've pretty much kept a good eye on any Copilot stuff that pops up and immediately get rid of it in settings. It's just really annoying. Okay. So we're just testing. We're gonna see if the movement behavior works that we just made real quick. It should run away when we're too close and move towards when it's too far. Kind of like what those rangers do. So if I move down here, it should technically follow me. Yeah, oh. Okay, you're not supposed to... Okay. Alright, what's going on? It's just constantly bumping into me, so I must have like a logical error or something. Okay, if not casting, if distance to player is greater than the move towards distance, it calls run towards. Does run away require the target to be the runaway target? If that's the case, why is it called run away? Because I feel like this should have been like, if it's greater than 900 or whatever, which is not right. Oh, you know what? The divide by 100 got deleted. It's supposed to be divide by 100 times 24. I forgot Visual Studio restarted when I tried to do this, and those changes didn't get saved. So the distances were probably wrong this whole time, which makes the runaway distance be so small. No, it made both the runaway distance and the move towards distance be so large that the condition would always be that the distance to player was always... No, it would have been less than this, so it wouldn't have even run this. It would have run this all the time, which, again, I want to see if, because we use the target, does it run away? Does it run towards the target still, even though it's called run away? So, let's take a look. How does this actually work? So, acquire target timer. Wait, does it acquire... Okay, so move away. If line length is less than range. Oh, this uses very specific variables. So in this case, it probably uses, like, 0 or whatever. Well, it uses defaults, right? So this needs variables to be set in order to be used, which I didn't think about. If we're using another strategy, sometimes we have to respect what kind of variables are in that strategy. So if I go to the runaway strategy, yeah, we got 2 variables here that we have to specify if we want to change how it works. And we kind of do want to use that, so we're going to add these as overrides to the monster itself. So I'm going to go over to monsters, and here we'll say the runaway strategy overrides. Run away strategy overrides. Just do that real quick. I don't know why I did caps. I was in like enum mode. I still did caps. Strategy overrides. How far away the monster attempts to distance itself from the player. So again, we want the closing range to be 900, the range to be 700. These defaults are kind of sane though, but basically we're doing the same thing we're doing here, so really we're just calling run strategy run away by default. Like that's actually what it simplifies down to. So let me just try that first. Like that might be all we have to do. Like we have built-in functionality for that. I essentially just re-implemented it when we already had it. Which kind of happens. Like, I notice as this project gets larger and larger, there are things that I forget I've implemented already, and so I tried to reinvent the wheel, then I find the similar thing later, I'm like, oh, I'm just supposed to reuse this. It happens quite a bit, and it just happened again, so... yeah, there's a lot of things to remember. And not remembering costs more time. Alright, so let's see now. Should literally behave like a ranger. Like, exactly. I'm gonna go down here. And it has moved, as you can see, and as I get closer, it runs away. So, same deal, right? And again, it's just placeholder sprites, that's whatever. We are going to fix or change these a little bit. But anyways, these are... that's looking good in the sense of it tries to keep a distance, which is exactly what we want. Now it's dead. Okay. So that satisfies the first criteria. Oh, yeah, before we continue, let's just commit this. So, compile fix... oh, I don't... oh god, how'd this get in here? This needs to be all get ignored. Oh, this is all new. This is like the report generator stuff. So I was messing with code coverage stuff earlier, trying to make it work. It like makes what I guess is called a report. So there's like new directories we have to get ignore. So I'm just gonna go ahead and open the get ignore real quick, and we will... oh, it's not my project apparently. We will fix that. I'm gonna go to configurations. Let's just add get ignore to it. That way we can mess with it. Okay. So let's just add tools to it. Just tools. I should get rid of that. What else? Did it mess with anything else? This file is not required. I'm just gonna delete it locally. .net-tools.json. JSON. Yeah, we don't need this either. I'm gonna get ignored this file too. So now everything else looks okay. Like we're kind of back to normal, I hope. What in the Kamehameha was that attack? Oh, yeah, it's like a little thunder orb that it shoots out, basically. But yeah, we're gonna change it a little bit. I want to change the graphic, and I also want to make it so the lightning zaps that come out, like if it's close to the player and it like hits the player, it should actually create a lightning bolt at the player. So it's more, just a little more visual feedback. Anyways, this is a fix for compiling error.cpp with proper, what do we call this? Like compiler, preprocessor, build flags? Build, more like preprocessor macro, or defines. Yeah. Because they just, it wasn't working. Preprocessor? I typed something weird there. This is release build 12989. 92189, or 989. We're gonna hit 93,000 today, maybe. Okay. Also, once we once we make the movement code and fix the Thunder Orb stuff, we get to PR this branch today. So I'm excited. We've been on this branch for a little while, so we get to move on to another monster tomorrow. More monster behaviors. Most of them follow very similarly to older monsters, so we're probably gonna get through a lot tomorrow. Just implementing more little monster guys here and there. Okay. So let's look at the Thunder Orb again real quick. So we're gonna add that. So if this hurts something, we're actually gonna emit a lightning bolt from the lightning bolt emitter at that position. So we're gonna say if let's get the hurt list. And we're just gonna say hurt targets. And essentially we want to iterate through all the hit targets and just create something for them. So we can do a standard, I guess, ranges for each in hurt targets. I think this is a vector. Yeah, it's a vector of hurt list item, which is a pair, so that should be fine. And inside of here, let's just open this up. It should be a const auto ref. I think the first one is the target, and the second is whether they got hurt. Was hurt. Inside, does that not work? Can we not do that? I feel like it was, as a pair we should be able to, but I guess not. Okay, anyway, I will just do it like this then. Const auto pair. I feel like we should be able to do it the other way though. I forgot what that's called. But paired off first should be the target. In theory. It's a variant, yeah. So this is the target, which I'm actually going to turn into an entity. So entity target is going to be paired off first. And then for target, we can get the position. And then based on the position, we go ahead and create a little lightning orb. So we need to pass in lightning, which is the emitter, and say lightning.emit. At least, oh, I have to do lightning equals lightning. So lightning.emit. There's also draw lightning bolt, but that's just the draw function. Emit. And we have to specify inaccessible. Inaccessible. Why is it inaccessible? Private? Let me look at emitters. Oh, emit is private. That's interesting. I mean, I could friend class here. Do I really want to? Friend class in Thunder Orb? Specifically? What is the reason for keeping it private? Sometimes I want to call emit, so I think I'll just make it public. That would be simpler. I like that better. We should be allowed to call emit for any emitter at any point in time. I think that's fair. Okay, oh, but we do have to access its members though, so we will still need to do this in the end. Friend class Thunder Orb. But I think emit should have been a public function. Oh, it actually is a public function in the struct, the parent struct. So that's interesting. I like made it private myself. Question, you're using standard ranges for each with the lambda. Would a ranged for loops not fit the use case? Oh, it's exactly the same thing. It's equivalent to just a regular, like, for auto, right? In this case, I would like to use the... Yeah, exactly the same thing. There's essentially no difference. I'll put, like, is hurt from what? Hurt targets. So it looks something like this. I can literally just put in here. It's the same thing. Same exact syntax. I would probably convert that to an entity though. Be like this. So I could do that too. I think this is more just me trying to use modern C++ for the sake of using it. The more I use it, the more it gets ingrained in my head. It might not necessarily be less typing, but I'm just trying to use what I learned. Yeah, so... And there's just standard for each too. It's in algorithms. It's just... what ranges does is it's just a more modern version of it. So with for each, you have to specify the iterators, right? Like begin and end. So it's even more verbose in that sense. So the ranges library introduced something a little more compact, but still longer than just typing this, right? So all these are the same. Standard for each is from algorithms, ranges for each is from algorithms, it's just more modern. Yeah. All the same. Take your pick. You're welcome. Okay, so now that we have this, we're going to change the lightning's start position. Well, the start position can remain the same. It's supposed to be from the lightning bolt itself, or the lightning orb, but the end pause... Oh, I forgot, I made this a public thing. I should just keep it then. But then the members are private, so that doesn't work. I guess. I'll do it this way. So we don't have the friend classic because I forgot I made a public function for this. And we just say it's from pause, so we're gonna need the pause value. So pause. End pause is going to be our target's position. Like that. And then what I want to do is every time... Let me see here. Oh, I did that already. I set the start end pause always to pause, but I think when the lightning bolt gets emitted, it doesn't update, is the thing. Like, essentially, every lightning bolt that gets emitted, we want to actually update its starting position. So this requires, like, new functionality. This is, like, the implementation for the lightning bolt emitter, but it's like... The lightning bolt's initial position has already been defined when this is created. So what I would like to do instead is make it so this gets updated based on the emitter's start pause every single frame. I guess that doesn't really make sense though, because it's like it's no longer... When it fades out, it's not going to be updating its position anymore, in theory. Yeah, let me think about that for a second. Because, like, we see one lightning bolt, and then it calls add... Okay, so it's these add effects. When it gets added, it just calls it from the... This should be the point? Yeah. Calls it from the beginning of that line it draws. So we would have to update this line every tick. I could make a property for that. Like a property for the emitter that says whether or not to follow, but then again, this is local to the lightning bolt emitter. And And current pause starts at start pause. So would it hurt to just update it like this? We'd have to grab, essentially, it's a unique pointer. Okay, yeah, this is tricky, right? Because effects are managed in here, and we don't know when it dies. Because yes, there is a unique pointer for it, but because we have a reference, it's like, how do we know when it dies? We kind of don't, so we can't keep updating it. What we're gonna have to do is send to effect like something that references its position back to us. As weird as that sounds, like I'm trying to currently wrap my head around how to design this. Essentially, this position function, we have to do something to make it so this position function references a different position during every tick. So it's like new functionality for this class. I guess we could just make a variable called like follow, or let's just say, yeah, like a reference pause or something. And it could be an optional, because it doesn't necessarily have to be defined. But if it is defined, let's say that we update the position to be that position instead. I kind of like that. I'm just trying to think, would there be any other issues with that? Because I need to look back at how that lightning bolt emitter actually draws this lightning bolt, because that's also important. Because sure, it's drawing this like chain lightning image, which is just like a 1:9 image, so essentially we're like scaling it in a certain direction. If we adjust the base position, does it all move? I think technically it all moves, because then it gets scaled and rotated. So technically the line should just move based on this base position. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think this gives the desired effect. Like, adjusting the position offsets the lightning bolt. It doesn't affect the scaling or how it scales or anything like that. So if I add this here, I'm probably gonna make a comment because this is very vague, right? This is like, adjust the pause to use this reference position. So since it's a reference position, should I make it a reference wrapper? Because it needs to be changed all the time, so it needs to reference something else. And then we're making the assumption that whatever it's referencing has a longer lifetime than it. So let's say this effect stays alive and this emitter dies. Then we're just gonna get undefined values. Like, it can become anything. So then we might get glitches. So I don't like that. But we basically have to connect these two classes together somehow. And we need a way to say, okay, when this dies, we need to clean up, right? Like, we can try to think of it as, okay, in the destructor for this, which I don't even know if I implemented right, did I? Okay. Very important, make sure your destructor is always virtual if you're doing inheritance, because if it's not, you're never gonna get the right destructor to call. Or you'll only get one destructor to call, and if you somehow have extra memory allocated, it will be a big problem for other things. So we're gonna add a destructor now for lightning bolt emitter. Basically, this emitter, it will not call this destructor if you don't make it virtual, essentially. So we're gonna add a destructor here, because we have to clean up after ourselves, and essentially say any effect we added that is still alive, we need to like decouple it from this object. We need to like say, hey, we're dead, so don't care about us anymore. But then again, we have that same issue of we don't know when the effects die, or if we do, we have to make some way of letting it know, hey, this effect died. Wait, do unique pointers... Hold on. I think the whole point of using a smart pointer, in this case a unique pointer, is that we know when it dies, right? That's like the whole point. It like goes null when it's dead. Like it should just be, it should actually return like empty when it's dead. Because we can call like, well, by default it will destroy itself, so like deleter called, and then unique should be detected as empty. Yeah, so unique pointers, we know when they're dead. We just have to get that unique pointer instead of this reference that add effect gives out. So now the question becomes, but we already know we've made this unique pointer here. Like it's passed in as a an argument for this, which means it's going to do a move, I think. I think this does a move, because it doesn't own it, yeah. So it's going to get moved into another structure, which means this doesn't own it anymore. So we can't reference it from there. So we'd have to get... Like, I'm not sure how to think about this. It's like, do I get it as a unique pointer reference? That doesn't really make sense, right? I don't think I've ever had to deal with this before, and now I'm trying to see if I'm gonna be able to understand that. Let's see if this example has anything useful for us. Otherwise, I might go to, real quick, C++, learn CPP and see what it says about this. Because I kind of see what I want to do here. I just want to know if unique pointer has the solution or not. So, unique owned resource, transfer ownership by a move. The pass-through function will use it in the meantime. Consuming a unique pointer can take it by value or by our value. P is now in a moved from empty state. Okay, so this P originally had this unique pointer passed into Q, and now it's going to assert. Destructor gets called. Equal to null pointer. Runtime polymorphism demo. Okay. Prepare the file to read. Would leak here if it were a plain pointer. Right. Okay. I don't think this does what I'm looking for, in the sense of, like, what we would be wanting is, like, a shared pointer, right? Do I just convert them to shared pointers now? I'm just trying to think of the implications of that. Because usually I don't want to just blindly convert it to a shared pointer. Gotta think about it for a second. But essentially I'd get a weak pointer out of it. And then with that weak pointer, I can keep an eye on whether or not it's still alive from the main container. I think that's the point. I think this is a valid use case to turn this container into a shared pointer container. I think we're going to do that. That seems like the easiest way to do this without adding too much extra overhead. So instead, we're going to convert the container of effects into a shared pointer containers, and then we're going to collect weak pointers inside of the lightning bolt emitter for each of the lightning bolt effects that are made. We will iterate through those and update the positions of each one if it's alive. If it's no longer alive, because we can detect that via weak pointer, then we can just remove them from the list. I think that's the plan. So we're going to go with that. Okay, so the containers are stored, I think, in Adventures in Lestoria, so let's go in there. I wish this window would remember its size. I feel like that's like been my biggest complaint today, is can you all remember your sizes so I don't have to keep resizing you every time I restart Visual Studio, please? That'd be nice. Okay. What happens when the emitter dies but the effect is still there with this approach? Then the effect would just continue to exist and will fade out on its own, because it's just stored in another container and it would just keep calling its normal update function. But since the lightning emitter is in control of is in charge of adjusting those positions, when there's nothing else going on, it will just do nothing. It will default to doing nothing. So I think this works out in my favor. Also, thank you for the follow, Cracked151. Appreciate that. So yeah, I think this is the strategy we want. So I think in here we have like foreground effects and background effects. Okay, yes. So we have multiple containers that are unique pointers. I'm just going to directly adjust them to shared pointers. This also means I'll have to adjust them in every reference to them, so we're going to be doing that now. The only thing that matters for these right now is the typing. Like, everything else should work out the same for these, but naturally I'm going to get all the builders related to them so we can review each case individually to see if changing them to shared pointer results in anything strange. I want to say it doesn't, but who knows. Let me just try to build, and we'll see what it complains about first, if anything. Because there will be something that probably references the container as like a reference container or something. I'm pretty sure. Although I did convert most of these to ranges when iterating, so maybe not. Like, IntelliSense isn't popping up with something, which is what I was expecting. But yeah, in addition to that, oh, okay, so all these make uniques are gonna fail because now it's make shared. So I'm definitely gonna have to adjust the add effect function for sure. And it wouldn't be a, well, okay, so this is gonna change too. I'm still trying to think about this return type. I almost want to like double up on it. Make it like multi-use. Return it as... because I don't think you can specify functions, unique functions, purely by changing return type. You would have to change something else up here too. I'm like pretty sure about that. We tried that recently. So I'm trying to think what I want to do with this now. It's like... is it really that important that we get an effect reference instead of the shared pointer out of this? Because if I think about it, like, this isn't a vector, so isn't it kind of dangerous? Like, I don't think returning a reference is a smart idea inside a vector. I don't really like that. Okay, so this is where this all starts. So yeah, I think we're gonna adjust all this too. Like, we're basically refactoring how this all works. So instead, this will return a weak pointer to that effect now. I like that a lot better. I probably just avoided the catastrophic scenario of, oh, what if the reference goes stale? Like, I think I just had to keep that in mind and avoided that this whole time. Which... I'm surprised I didn't footgun myself into that yet. Like, we haven't experienced that. Or maybe I have, and I didn't notice. Because those kinds of things just naturally produce, like, hidden bugs all the time, right? I think if I standard move this shared pointer, if it gets invalidated on this end, which is fine. We don't really want it to stick around. Yeah, I really don't want it to stick around. So we would invalidate the shared pointer coming in. I like that idea. And then coming out, let's see. So instead of getting a reference, let's just grab a weak pointer from this. So foreground wrapper. Oh, reference wrapper. Hello. I don't really like that, so we're gonna get rid of that now and just return. So mplaceBack will return the actual pointer. So let's just do return here, and that will return the weak pointer. So now I'm gonna have to adjust the declaration of this function. Add effect. Did it not find it? Hello? Apparently I have to control F this. It can't just jump me to it. Okay, so this is gonna change, which means anything that uses it changes, so we're probably gonna have a lot of work to fix that up. Pass in a shared pointer. Maybe I'll make a note here that shared pointer passed in becomes invalidated. Well, if we're doing that, why not just pass in the effect object itself, right? Like, why are we passing in a pointer that we make ourselves instead of just passing in an effect? I think that makes way more sense, and then we just move that object into a new shared pointer created here. That way we don't have that shared pointer existing. Like, saying that I'm gonna invalidate the shared pointer passing into this function doesn't really... It feels very unconventional. Like, why would we do that? That ruins the whole point. So maybe we just accept an effect here. I think that makes way more sense. Pass that into mplaceBack, which should copy it. I think it's just a struct, so it's not going to have any complex copying required. Okay, it's got constructors, which means the default copy constructor does not exist. Maybe that's why I didn't do that. Does that work? Yeah, I think if I create a custom constructor, the copy constructor becomes invalidated, right? I'm pretty sure that's the case. Or no, as long as all of its members are copyable, the default constructor remains. Let's test this. I'm actually just gonna bring effect.h over real quick. Just these members here, they're all very generic, so this is very easy to test. So struct effect. Looks like I have all the types I need already. And then let's try to copy it. So we'll just do effect E1. Let me just define like... Oh, we'll need the constructors though for sure. Let's just pretend that we're gonna have these four. I don't need anything else from the example, or for the example. Okay. So, now, if I have two effects, let's say effect E1, let me just initialize it with random stuff real quick. Image file, test, upper level true. Let's do... Everything else can remain defaults. That's the bare minimum we need to initialize it, I think. More than one instance matches. Really? I don't think that's the case. Lifetime, image file, boolean. Oh, okay, these two have like the same parameters, but it's like one is VF float, one is VF2D for size. So I do have to specify up to there which one I'm using. Okay, which is fine. Also, I'm getting rid of this one because that one has a type we can't really make right now. Let me just make a second one. I'll just change that to identify it. Okay, let me just say E1 equals E2. It looks like IntelliSense is happy about that, so I guess it's copyable as long as all the members in it are copyable. What is this? Effect. Example, effect, effect. Oh, it wants me to actually implement these. Let me just put dead functions real quick. Effect. But yes, the whole idea. Actually, let me inline it. That's actually easier. Yeah. Okay, so as long as all the members in a class or struct are copyable, then E1 now has... It would be what? Size? Size is 1, 1. Wait. What? I thought we made size be 2. Oh, we don't... I forgot. We don't actually do anything, so... We can't prove that it's calling that constructor unless I go in here. And then I have to like see a copy every member, right? In theory. But yeah, in theory, if I do F11... Okay, that doesn't work. Yeah, it's just a like implicit copy constructor. But let me do this. We'll say size is equal to size in this function, because this is the one we're calling, so it's a float. Oh, I see. So do size multiplied by vf2d 1, 1. Okay. Alright. Unfortunately, I did start coding a little late today, so we're gonna have to stop a little early. But basically we have... So this should be size 2, 2? Yes, okay. So effectively we've copied E2 into E1 that way. So that's just proof that we've done that. Alright, so the plan is, for tomorrow, is we're refactoring all the effect structures, the vectors, to hold standard shared pointers instead of unique pointers, since we need shared pointer functionality to make it so we can hold weak pointers inside of lightning bolt emitter so it knows what effects it generates, so it can continually modify them. And the reason why we want weak pointers is because we need to know when these pointers die, and shared pointers are going to be owned inside of the Adventures in Lestoria class. They're only going to exist in here, so when these die, the weak pointers will die, because they're pointing to them. And so then we'll know, oh, we don't have to update these anymore, because it's likely the effects will die first. So we won't know that if we get a reference, as it could just refer to garbage data and then we're touching something we're not supposed to, which causes bad things to happen. So that's why we're doing that. We're going to have to adjust a lot of things, so it'll be a project for tomorrow, as I don't have enough time to finish that today, as I've got to go. But I hope you all enjoyed today's coding session. A little short, but I guess we have found something else to fix up. So we're going to be working on that tomorrow. For those of you that tuned in, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.